Now, let's talk about Arizona football. Arizona football, we told you, was going to have a big recruiting weekend. And they did have a big recruiting weekend. We told you that they were probably going to get a flurry of commitments. Guess what? They did get a flurry of commitments. And these were positions of need. Now, it's going to be interesting to find out how good some of these players are. I think there's still some more stuff that we got to figure out. But why don't we start with the Stanford? Why don't we start with the Stanford kid first? Now, again, sack and a half last year, but he's big. He's also from Stanford. Arizona needs depth. He's not going to start, but could have some potential.
Defensive end, from what I understand, I look at him as being like a Jeremy Mercier type of role. You line up as a defensive end, you could kind of drop back a little bit as well. The thing with him that I like is his numbers got better every year. And I know they're not insane or anything, but Arizona is going to be playing in a more aggressive defense. You could do much worse depth-wise than landing a multi-year player at Stanford who's played 30 games, whatever, at Stanford. I like the pickup. Like, to me, when you pick up a guy like him that's been around Stanford and played good opponents and put up some decent numbers, what's the downside, right? Like, and he knows he's not starting. He's not starting over Trey Smith or Ty Ty. I'm not sure anyone in the portal that Arizona has a chance of landing would start over those guys. I found out, do you know the starting, just to get in the conversation, I found this out from a good source, for a defensive lineman, just to get in the conversation, not to land them, what do you think the starting price is?
6 figures.
Yeah. $300,000 just to be in the conversation.
That's Dylan Anderson money.
You can't even start, and you can't even be a part of the conversation unless your starting number is 300, and then you go from there.
Wow. Interesting. 3. That's wow. Well, you know what? Kids
so it's like everyone's like, "Oh, I want a star defensive end." That's going to cost you $750,000. And for football it's different, right?
Do you think ever reach a point where they start capping stuff at some point?
Yeah. I think it's going to collapse at some point where the return on the investment, the lack of return on investment becomes obvious, and these guys stop throwing crazy money around.
Like Washington. Washington's going to suck. You bring in Great Osabor for $2 million. What's that going to do? You're still going to go, what, 17-15?
And even Washington fans were like, yeah, that's crazy. The only decent explanation I got for Great Osabor was Washington fans said, look, we know we're not going to be good. We make the tournament our first year, and Sprinkle can use it as momentum. That to me made sense, but is that still worth $3 million or whatever?
No, it's not. It's not. All right, now let's talk about the corner from Miami, Freeney. This will be fascinating to see. He had some pretty good offers originally, and I say that Arizona has a gaping hole at that other cornerback position. I think that they got to add more corners, to be honest with you, than just this. Tacario Davis, we know that Tacario Davis is an absolute stud. Totally get it. But opposite, that is a massive hole. I do not I like G7, but I do not believe G7 is a starting Power 5 cornerback. Arizona has got to be able to improve that, because that is one of the positions that Jed Fish did raid when he left. Ephesians Pricesock is obviously very good. He's kind of a turd, but he's very good. And is it Jordan Shaw or Josh Shaw? I can never remember.
There's a Josh Shaw that went to USC.
And he fell out of an apartment or something, remember?
Yeah.
Jordan. Yeah. I think it's Jordan Shaw, yes.
Yeah,
but either way, both those guys are really, really good. So Arizona has to be able to not replace, but at least get passable.
I think it's pretty obvious that Arizona needs a starting corner. And like you mentioned, like G7 showed potential, Carnley showed potential, but Arizona doesn't have, this sounds bad, but Arizona this season doesn't have time for potential, right? Like this is the year. Like, let's just be real here. The roster is going to look significantly different 2 seasons from now than it does this season, right?
Right.
So they need
they got to win this year, man. I know it's a tough position to put somebody in, but they got to win this.
Marquez Killebrew is the guy that they like, but until he recovers from his herniated disc surgery, you don't really know how that's going to go. They do like him, though. They do think he has talent. Freeney is a guy that they brought in with the belief that he's good enough to start. We don't know if he's good enough to start yet, but this is a guy where, he had more offers coming out of the portal And then there were other schools that basically didn't offer because as soon as he entered the portal, he was going to Arizona. Like I talked to him through the entire
He wanted
process.
to back the A from day one.
Yeah. Like I talked to him through the process and he didn't even mention any other schools. He's like, I'll let you know when I'm visiting Arizona. Like he knew. Only visit he took, only school he mentioned, all that. But he's a guy where like coming out of high school, like Oklahoma offered him, or coming out of San Mateo, I mean. So like this dude had Miami, Oklahoma, Indiana, Louisville, Colorado. Like there were good schools. Obviously,
You know what he is? I don't know that I have any expectations for him, but he's a high upside prospect. How about that?
Yeah.
That's where you're trying to get. You're trying to get a high upside prospect that has potential. Maybe he's no good. I do not know, but you need to be able to take players like that. Sheer, we agree.
Yeah, for sure. And you know, if he hits what Arizona hits or thinks he's capable of, he'll be the other starting corner.
All right, Manny Nunnery. Manny Nunnery, a very large man. Another spot that we've talked about pretty much all offseason. We do not feel comfortable with that other linebacker spot opposite Jacob Manu. I guess, you know, I know Justin Flo. I know there's a lot of people that are going to say, Mike, you're going to look like an idiot with Justin Flo. I do not believe that he's going to start next to Jacob Manu. I say you're wrong. But Nunnery, though, is going to have a chance to be able to play, period.
Yeah, they want one more linebacker. Danny, now they wouldn't even be recruiting Nunnery had Alec Marenko not done what he did with Kansas State and all that, but he did. And now they're on Nunnery. They want one more guy. That's it. They zeroed in on Nunnery. I believe there's a couple other schools involved, but the visit went well, from what I understand.
He's a very big kid.
Yeah, he's similar to Flo. He's a little better in coverage, but he is an athletic freak. And he's a guy where, you know, another high ceiling guy, right? Like you have Tay Brown, you have Kamuela, you know, if those guys are if Nunnery doesn't hit, those guys are pretty solid. But if Nunnery hits and he is what you think he is, all of a sudden you have a really good linebacking core.
All right, Joseph, I would like nothing more than to start a my bad flow movement, but I need to see it. Keep in mind, you got to keep in mind here, I was pushed hard by a lot of people when Boswell had a really good game against ASU to say, oh, what about the my bad Boswell movement? I said, I will not do this. I need to see more. Guess who was glad that he did not give into the naysayers, into the pressure feeders? I will do this with Justin Flo, but I need to see more. Period.
Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, we just need to see a coaching staff that wants to play Justin Flo. And I think
it's been three now that haven't.
Yeah, and I think Danny Gonzalez has a right idea where he's just flat out said, like, look, we know what we can do well, and that's the only thing we're going to ask him to do.
All right, now, let's talk a little bit about the running backs then. Alonzo Carter. I like Alonzo Carter. Don't really know much, but, I mean, everybody I've talked to said seems like a really good dude. I do have a question, though, on this, and this is more of an open-ended question. This is not a proclamation. I keep getting people that say, well, you know, he's the ace recruiter. He's the ace recruiter. I get all that. My question is this. And maybe some people, different strokes for different folks, but generally ace recruiters are not at San Jose State this late into their career. Is he an ace recruiter, Sheer?
So I've asked about this, and from what I've been told, there are multiple jobs that he turned down. He is a Bay Area guy through and through. Like that is where he came up in the coaching. That is where he went to school. That is like, he is a through and through Bay Area guy, and he's very close with Brennan. And you know, like he would have stayed at San Jose State if they made it worth him staying, right? Like right. It is that type of deal. And the only guy that basically you would follow would be Brennan, right? Like, you know, I'm like, let's look at like Scotty Graham, for instance. I know for a fact Scotty Graham had other offers, but he stayed with Jet, right? Like there's things that you're loyal to and whatever. And I think that Carter's just one of those guys. I get where you're coming from, though. And I think there is a level of difference in recruiting between San Jose State and Arizona. And I think Zoe needs to kind of prove it at Arizona, but I believe that he will.
All right. Like, give you an example. Dante Williams was a terrible coach, but Dante Williams is also a great recruiter. The kind of kids that he was able to get on campus here at the U of A and had committed was just insane. And generally, that's the progression you get with recruiters. They go to USC, they go to Georgia, they go to places like that. I'm certainly not saying that that's not going to be the case with Alonzo Carter. I'm just saying that I want to see it. Now, I do believe he needs to get one of these running backs, though. 1,000%. You need to get one of these running backs. You need to either get Riscano or Augustave. I will keep saying Augustave until I'm corrected because I love how that phonetically rolls off the tongue.
Yeah, I think they need to get one, and I'll say this, it's not going to be easy. Now that Colorado lost Rashad Amos, they're all over Augustave, and Riscano is looking at other schools. Purdue's all over him now. We'll see. I think Arizona needs to put a little pressure in the next few days to get one of these guys, and we'll see what happens if they bring in another running back or two this weekend. But they want 2 running backs. I think that's very, very clear.
Now, can we talk about, oh, by the way, Joseph, hey, E40 from Vallejo. Want to hear this? I'm from the VALLEJO. We're selling is all I know. I got low speed wheat, whatever your kind, and if you need it, I ain't hard to find. Boom! How about that? Was that good?
Dude, I was gonna call you. Aurora is into Tupac right now, and she wanted to rap a song with you last night, and she didn't believe me that you know every Tupac song.
Every single one. Every single one. I have proven this many, many a time, even in front of the great Tony Jones. Now, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, first of all, what is the relationship like with you two at this point? Is it still...
Oh, we're good. We talked the other day.
You did?
Yeah, we're good. Yeah, we're good. We did. We really did. I'm not making that up.
Well, he's certainly old enough to go out and get drinks. So did you go out and get a beer?
I would have.
All right.
I would have.
So, Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, though, does he merit a mention at this point?
Oh, man, that was good. Here's what I could say, and this is as honest as seriously, this is full honesty, whatever. I was told by a source at Arizona that his eligibility depends on whoever you ask that day, right? Meaning
that's reassuring.
Meaning like Ole Miss is now saying he's not eligible, but when they took him, he was eligible, right? Like they said he was eligible, right? Arizona.
I don't understand. Well, I hate to interrupt.
I know. But Arizona said he was eligible. Now he's not eligible. And now it's literally the exact quote I got was, it depends who you ask that day.
But everybody out there, you are all smarter than me. You're probably not smarter than Sheer, although there's definitely days when you're smarter than Sheer. We need to be, all of you to get in on this. Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, please explain to me how he is eligible. I do not. He never.
Yeah, I don't know. The problem is too, Mike, like this is when the NCAA just sucks. Because all they have to do is issue a ruling and tell these teams, look, this kid has no eligibility left.
But I don't even see what the debate is. He didn't take a redshirt year. He played in 9 games. That disqualifies you from a redshirt year. I do not understand this. We're even counting in the COVID year. I
believe there are some questions with records and snap counts and given red shirts. I don't know. I do know that I will find out the story once everything is settled. That has been promised me by most people.
All right. So what you're saying is this: once the story comes out, you'll have the story.
People, from what I understand, they don't want to say anything because the NCAA needs to rule. And the problem is, like, if you're Arizona, do you take them?
I don't think you can right now.
He's talented as hell, though.
What's that?
Like he is good.
I do. Trust me, I totally agree. You were the one that said you didn't think he was that good. You pulled the Sheer. I don't think he's that good when he left for Ole Miss.
If you take him and the NCAA rules, like there's a chance they don't rule on this until September.
That's why I'm saying I don't know that I can take that chance. I need another running back because here's the deal. We know that we know Rayshon Speedy Luke Pham and Quali Conley are going to play. Those are the only running backs that this coaching staff is comfortable with. Period.
I think you need 2. You need 2 running backs.
2. You need to add 2?
Yeah, no matter what, you need to add 2.
I would take Krosky Merritt, but I need to merit another selection as well.
Look at you. Yes, 2 running backs no matter what.
Okay. Yes, I do agree with it. James Casillas, I agree with you as well. All right. Brent Brennan, you're not listening to the show because you probably have better things to do, but we have just solved the issue for you. You take Ja'Cory Krosky Merritt, and you will also will get Augustave. That is who I very much would like. By the way, I do love seeing all these players leave Dion. It's very nice.
Yeah, that's weird. Rashad Amos, it was funny because we were told, I think I mentioned it on air, that he was going to go to whoever paid him the most. Mm-hmm. And he tried to commit to Arizona. They didn't pony up the money. Then he thought he was going to go to Washington. Scotty Graham said, you know what, never mind. I'm not doing what you want. Then he went to Colorado. Colorado did take him. And then Ole Miss said, oh, actually, we want you. And then he went to Ole Miss. He's basically tried to commit to 4 schools. And finally, he's going to Ole Miss, I think.
He's very good, though.